Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel and this video. I hope you guys are having a great Monday. So this is the follow-up video for recommendations for After the Glittering Court by Richelle Mead. If you have not watched my reviews for the series, I will link them below. I found the series really interesting. The main issue I had was the romance, but yeah. So because we follow three different girls and we follow their different stories, I ended up deciding to just recommend a couple of books that I felt would lead to something specific. Like, a lot of them went for change, and you know, we watched them in different areas. So I recommended a bunch of stories that involved change and a lot of fantasy, ranging from low to middle to high. So let us begin. The first book in the recommendation is The Adventurous Quartet by Stephanie Lawrence. This is a historical romance series, and I love it. So the main plot of the series is that there are people. It started off with soldiers, it seems, men that were disappearing in the colony of Freetown in Africa. But eventually it is found that it's also children and women that are also disappearing. Each of these books follows one brother. They're from one of the Frobisher brothers, as they follow a specific part of the mission. So it's pretty good. I enjoy the historical romance series. It's quite good. I did have an issue, I think, with the second book because the romance just appeared too quickly, but the first and the fourth book I didn't have too much of a problem with, because it was kind of already established, so it was kind of interesting in that regard. Not to mention the plot I felt was kind of cool, and it kind of mixes with the whole glittering court and the colony, so I thought that was awesome. So I enjoyed that. I thought that was cool. So that's the first recommendation. The next one is an ongoing series. I'm really waiting for the actual announcement of the third book of this series, and that is The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. So we follow our main character, Laura. She is a princess of a specific kingdom, and she has like 19 other sisters that she knows, and she has like one thought on her wedding day for her husband: I will bring you and your kingdom to their knees, to your knees, basically, right? And basically she and her sisters have been trained on seduction and the art of killing, because her kingdom, in order to conquer Ithaca, the Bridge Kingdom, and this is in order to basically conquer them, because, as Laura was told, her people are starving, and they are the reason that her people are starving. However, as she learns when she's in Ithaca as its queen, she learns that's really not the case. That the guy is a good king, and that he's trying very hard for his people. So she learns that she has been lied to, and now we kind of just follow her as she learns all that and ends up discovering it's a very interesting book to read. And so far there are two books out. That is The Bridge Kingdom and the Traitor Queen. I haven't seen a title even for the third book. Last I checked Goodreads. I will be checking it again probably once I'm done recording this in the next recommendations batch, but still, I'm waiting. The next one is Four Dead Queens by Astrid Schultz. This is a fantasy / murder mystery where we follow our main character, who kind of works with this guy in very shady business, where he basically takes he finds like these art, I guess, items from other kingdoms, and he sells them to, I guess, the highest bidder, or I guess for a lower price, so that everybody enjoys them. So everybody can enjoy them. However, one of the things he ends up taking are these chips from these other from this client, and basically he's about to sell them, but basically he it's it turns out that in those chips, the queens that rule this queendom are going to be murdered. And now they're trying to figure out who is supposed to, her and this other guy trying to figure out who is going to murder the queens, because for the record, this world that this takes place is ruled by 4 queens, but it's divided into 4 quadrants. Each quadrant has a specific value, and each quadrant has their own queen, and they and basically they rule together but apart. That's like the main shtick of the book. The next thing I would recommend is the Anti-Darken. I think the next 3 things I'm recommending are from the same author, and they are Anti-Darken, the Camelot Rising, and The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein by Kirsten White. Now, I really don't know how best to describe Anti-Darken. I can't think of the best description for Anti-Darken, but basically we follow Lotta, who is the daughter of the Prince of Valahia, and he and she ends up in the Ottoman court, and from there we kind of follow her development as she grows into herself, but also finds herself kind of annoyed with the way she's being treated. We also follow her relationships with her brother and Mehmed, the prince of the Ottoman Empire, who is soon to be heir. It's hard to describe, because honestly I don't think I can give it any justice explaining it, so I have a hard time describing that one in general. Camelot Rising is an ongoing trilogy that the last book is actually supposed to come out in December, and basically it's basically a reimagining of the Arthurian legends, and it starts off where we follow our main character Guinevere, who's about to marry Arthur, except that she isn't Guinevere. She is a changeling pretending to be Guinevere, and her goal is to protect Arthur from things that are coming, and she is sent by Merlin. So but she also now has to deal with the laws of Camelot, and how much the expectations that come with that, and how how, like, she is not, there are certain things that she's not permitted to do, and now she has to kind of learn to navigate all of that with deception and everything. So far the books that are out are the Guinevere Deception and the Camelot Betrayal, and the next book that's coming out in November is titled The Excalibur Curse, and I'm so excited. I will be rereading the books probably the week before they come out, or sometime in December. I will be reviewing them in this channel, so don't worry, you will definitely get reviews from me for those books. The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein is a Frankenstein retelling, and it follows Elizabeth, that's the main character in general, how basically Victor disappears, and she was his friend since they were kids, because she was forced to be his friend, and now she has to deal with that. But basically now she is trying to find him, and when she does, however, she eventually unravels his insanity, and now she has to try to stop him from doing certain things. So that's that. The next 2 things are also from the same author, and those are Ash Princess and Half Sick of Shadows by Laura Sebastian. So Ash Princess follows Princess Theodosia, whose mother was killed when she was 6, and she has been imprisoned for 10 years and enslaved by the Kaiser. And she's basically only there to kind of suffer all the punishments that when the rebels do anything. So she's just there as a prisoner, even though she's given a title of lady. And basically and she also is known as Princess of Ashes because, it's supposed to be humiliating for her. But basically she, she's been suffering all this throughout 10 years. But at some point she is made to, like the beginning of the story, she's made to do something unthinkable, and that mainly pushes her to try to figure out a way to escape. And she, with the help of some friends, she ends up making a plan to seduce like the crown prince and kill him, and basically start a civil war, and that would pretty much distract everybody in a way, and they should be able to conquer back her kingdom, Astrea. Half Sick of Shadows is a feminist reimagining of the Arthurian legends. However, if I am not wrong, you should be seeing a review of that next week. So due to that, I won't fully explain. I will explain the plot, but I am very excited for you guys to see that review. But basically, we do have what we follow here is our main character. We follow. It's basically a retelling of the Lady of Shalott poem, which is, I do reference that in the review next week, but it's a retelling of that. And basically we follow Elaine of Shalott as she and other friends accompany Arthur to Camelot, as she is now as they basically their whole thing is to protect Arthur. And now they're chained by Camelot's laws, where magic is outlawed and everything, and now they have to do everything they can to put Arthur on the throne. But how much is Elaine willing to sacrifice basically to do so? Not to mention that she is a seer, so she can see all the possible futures, and how much is she willing to sacrifice in order to change the future that she sees. So the next 2 series I recommend are also from the same author, and those are Daughter of Smoke and Bone and Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I had to recommend these. But basically, a Daughter of Smoke and Bone, we follow Karoo, who basically does a bunch of strange errands for this guy who's from a different world. And she's the only one that knows about those different worlds, basically, right? Or this different world where Chimera exists. It's kind of interesting, honestly. But basically, we follow her, and she eventually she does these errands. However, when Brimstone, the person who asks her to do those errands, she finds, when he just randomly disappears, she goes off looking for a way to see him and find out what happened. And she also finds out, we also follow her romance with an angel named Akiba. That's the best I can explain. Strange the Dreamer follows Laszlo Strange, who's basically a dreamer. He really is a dreamer. He spends his entire time in books, and he ends up he spends all his time in books, and he also he works in a library. He's a junior librarian, and he ends up going on a journey with the ties arcane warriors to the mysterious city of Weep. And basically he knows he's obsessed with this, but he ends up being able to go, and they find out why these people traveled from very far away to get these different people of different specialties, and it's a lovely plot. And it's just, I don't know how else to explain it. It's just a lovely plot. The next 3 series are also from the same author, and those are Throne of Glass, A Court of Thorns and Roses, and Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. Note that A Court of Thorns and Roses and Crescent City are still ongoing, so yeah. Anyway, Throne of Glass follows Selena Sardathian, who is Otterland's assassin, and she works in the salt mines of Endovier, and the prince of the Otterland Empire comes to her and says, look, I'm going to offer you your freedom, but you have to be my champion in this competition where her dad is trying to find an assassin. And after working for him for about 4 years, she ends up, she will get her freedom. She'll be able to do whatever she wants. So she accepts, and the main competition is she has to fight 23 other men who are, who are of all different kinds of caliber. You know, they're all like criminals and everything. And she has to she's the only woman there, and she has to fight for her freedom that way. And we follow her through there, and as it all kind of develops, it's interesting. A Court of Thorns and Roses starts off as a Beauty and the Beast retelling with our main character Feyre, who ends up killing a fairy or a fae male, and she ends up being taken to Prythian, the fae world, and she is now stuck there. She has to live there in order to, as a punishment. However, she finds out that there is a curse in the place that she's living, and she's now the person. She has to solve a riddle in order to break it. So that's that one. Crescent City only has 1 book out, and that is House of Earth and Blood. And it's we basically follow Bryce Quinlan as she basically she loses her friends one night, and they're all murdered, and she doesn't know by whom, but basically they're all murdered. And 2 years after they're murdered, the same people that did it are active again, and now she is trying to figure out who killed. She ends up working with this angel, Hunt Athlar, or I'm gonna go with Orion because Orion is a better name. And she ends up working with him in order to figure out who killed them and why are they active now, and what their plan is, and what they're trying to do. And in the meantime, they also end up falling in love, and it's interesting to follow their romance. I enjoyed it in general. I really liked their romance. It was interesting to follow. So my last recommendation for this is A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin. Basically, it kind of all begins with, I mean, this one is, I guess you can say, technically still ongoing, because Goodreads shows that there are supposed to be 3 more books in the series, but from my understanding, it's been 10 years since the author published anything. So whether this series will get finished is hard to say, but here we are, so it's okay. Anyway, we basically start off by following Ned Stark as he is asked to be the Hand of the King after the death of the previous hand, Robert Arryn. And he he accepts, but mostly to solve the murder of the guy that basically raised him. And from there, it all goes a little crazy. There's a bunch of political intrigue. This is the epic fantasy. This is an epic fantasy, so definitely there's a lot of things. We also follow people that want to conquer Westeros, like the previous Targaryens. It's a lot. It's a lot. So no explanation I give it can literally describe it. Only Goodreads synopsis can do that, but still. Anyway, those are all my recommendations for after reading The Glittering Court. If you have any more recommendations, let me know. If you have any questions as well and video requests, also let me know. If you have video requests and suggestions, you can comment out there, or you can contact me privately. Check the description for ways to do that. Also, give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe for more content. I post at least once a week, and at least once a week, yeah. And follow my social media for life updates. Mostly writing, but that's my life right now. So check it out. Let me know. Check out my social media. Check out the links for other content from me, such as this series, Blind Woman Recommends. I also have Blind Woman Reacts and Blind Woman Reviews. Those are the main ones that I do now, but yeah. So let me know your thoughts on all of that, and I will see you next week with a review and recommendations. Bye!